Welcome back to Plant the Seed podcast, everybody. We are your hosts. I'm Cameron, and that is Nathan.
Hello.
And in this episode, we have titled "In a Quarter Mile Turn." Dot dot dot
Dot, dot, dot.
dot. We talk about our friend Riley Lawrence's lesson. And Nathan, what
Yeah.
have you been to this week besides laughing over our amazing trivia question of last week, which I'm still laughing about. If you want to, I don't know if I'll be able to reveal it without crying. So
Doing these trivia questions, like some of the ones that we read that are facts, or they say they're facts, and I'm like, that can't be real. And then I look into it, and it's a real thing. I'm dumbfounded. I'm like the one that we did last week, which we'll reveal here in a little bit. Is hilarious to me. But the one that we did today, I think, is going to be pretty funny too, and kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, but my week's been pretty good. They are starting to open the offices, at least where I'm at. I think they're trying to kind of look at themselves as we do a lot of like restoration work, so we are a little more essential, at least like our offices are. So they're trying to push to try to get a little bit more normal. But it sounds like a lot of other people are possibly getting the same thing, which is nice. It's going to be nice to not have to sit at home all day.
yeah, being stuck, it's not fun. I haven't really gone out except for like walks at all, uh, which I guess is a good thing. But especially they've extended it by like another 2 weeks, so that's going to be real fun.
Ugh. The best thing that happened during this week was Aaron from church actually won like a gift card from some challenge he had to do. And it was like a $10 gift card to 7-Eleven. And I wake up and I get a random text from Brad. And Brad's like, Aaron told me to drive over to your house and give you this gift card because you got him something before. And I was like, oh, he blessed me an opportunity to see Brad. Like, I didn't even care about the gift card. I was just like, it's Brad. So I
It's
got to see
Brad.
Brad during my quarantine. That was kind of cool.
Lucky you.
Yeah, so I got to see him and Julianne and their daughters and stuff. We kept our 6 feet apart distance, but it was nice to just see people and talk. So, and it was beautiful out too, which was nice. And I got a $10 gift card to 7-Eleven. So there you go.
Look at you.
I
The
know.
karma came back.
I was so happy. I was like, I texted Aaron afterwards, like, you blessed me with an opportunity to see Brad. Oh, and thank you for the gift card too. But yeah, with that, let's go ahead and talk about the quiz question here because I'm dying. We asked last week, in August of 2015, Dorset, Minnesota voted in the country's youngest mayor. How old was the youngest mayor? Do you want to give us the answer?
Okay, I will try. He was he was 3 years old, and I read the article right, it implies that previously his older brother, who's only 2 years older than him, was also the mayor when he was 5. So like, is the mayor's office like only allowed for kids, or is the whole town just kids?
So what I found out is like in this town, the people pay like $1 or something for like a ballot like ticket or whatever. And I don't know if they like put it in a hat and they draw the names or something like that, but it's all randomized. So it's like people in this town put this 3-year-old kid's name into a hat and basically pulled it. And he is mayor of their town in 2015. And what was even crazier to me though is supposedly he ran for 2 terms. Like, not only did he do it once, this boy did it twice.
Yeah, I'm like, getting him in randomly once is one thing, but what did he do for them to get him in a second time?
I don't know. I don't know like how much he actually could control anything. Um
It was just ceremonial, like the Queen of England. She doesn't do anything.
There we go. We just got canceled. Episode 6, guys. Clean
Yeah,
Development's coming for us now. But
she's shutting
um,
us.
it said like his first act as mayor, like he basically got voted in and then gave out free ice cream sandwiches, and it sounded like they did it. So I would revote for somebody who gave me a free ice cream sandwich.
Yes, I would.
But yeah, I guess like his parents were super excited. The article I read, like his parents were like, "Oh my goodness, we've always known that he was gonna be a great leader." I'm like, he's 3. he's he's giving out free ice cream sandwiches. I wonder if he really knows what's even going on.
Oh, probably.
I don't know. I wonder if he gets an office. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, definitely.
I don't even have an office, and I'm 23, so I have a cubicle. But anyways, so what's been kind of going on with your week? Anything fun?
I haven't really done a whole lot. Mowed the lawn, cleaned out my garage, which had a bunch of just like random stuff in it, and then I've been trying to write a screenplay. Hasn't been working out very well, but especially because I've been distracted by my homework, which I don't want to sound like cocky or arrogant or anything, but my pre-calc work, it was like 30 problems, and it was like for babies. It was so unbelievably easy. Like, is this pre-calc or is this like algebra 1? Am I a freshman or a senior? I don't even know anymore.
Don't worry, man. You'll definitely use that calculus for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah,
It's really gonna
I
apply.
guarantee the second I actually get my diploma, I'll never even open a math textbook again in my life. But oh well. I mean, if I need it, I got it. I'm good at it. So
I think what blows my mind is that like if you go to a normal school building, your day is like what like your standard 8 hour workday almost, and then all of a sudden quarantine hit, and kids are done by 12 in some areas, and I'm like, you're telling me I was going to school for like 3.5 additional hours than what actually was needed for me to get my education? Like,
yeah, and it's like most of the information is like useless information that like when will I ever need to know that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell? Like I'm kind of upset that I know that because like yes, I know more things, which is cool, but I know useless things. There's no purpose for that in my brain. I am not a doctor. I never planned to be a doctor. I always tell my teachers that like we should all go to elementary school, and then once you get to like eighth grade or seventh grade, then you should be able to choose all of your classes instead of like just choose like 2 electives or whatever. Because I mean, by seventh grade, I mean you should have an idea of what kind of things you like and what you want to do. So
right.
I
Well, and
mean,
I get
I would want to choose my classes so I can gear towards my future career rather than just like taking biology when I want to go into like film.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe some kids just don't really know, and so there might be like some people who take those classes and find out, oh my gosh, I really enjoy this, and that's what they pursue. But I agree. Like there was a lot of things like in high school that I wish I could have focused on a little more. Like for example, when I came out of high school, there's just like some life skills that like you just in most high schools, maybe there's some out there that do this, but you don't necessarily learn like the day to day life skill, um, like taxes or like how to do certain things. That like you become 18 and then you're slapped with all of it, and then you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? So
Yeah, it's like I feel like learning how to budget my taxes is far more important than like chemistry.
yeah,
I don't know, but I mean it's all cool information. It's interesting, but it's there's no practical use for most of it.
true. Yeah, for most people, that's true. But let's go ahead and talk about our current event. I'm like looking at our outline here, and I'm shocked by it still. I'm not though because it's Florida. So
Yeah,
You guys have heard it on this podcast. I love Florida news. Like I love Florida news than any other news because the things that come up for Florida, I don't know why. They got some entertaining stuff that happens out there. Um, but for this week, I found an article, and maybe you've seen it. He's all over the place. It's crazy. There's a dude in Florida who is currently dressing up, or maybe not currently like right now, but he's been dressing up as the Grim Reaper and warning people on the Florida beaches of coronavirus.
This guy's crazy, but he's also like being kind of hypocritical because he's going out on the beach to tell people to not go out on the beach. I'm like, you're just doing the same thing as them, just with a costume on.
The article I was reading, he was like, he was saying like he doesn't necessarily, of course, hate anybody on the beach. He's not against like people. He's like, I get it, you know, I want to be on the beach too. And I'm like, but you are.
Like,
You're literally
you
on the
are on the beach.
beach. So, and then had a news crew on the beach too. So I'm like, so you pulled a news crew and a few other people on the beach to come see you. But some people actually, I guess, have like told him that they appreciate him and stuff. Some other people not so much. Sounds like he's been getting heckled a lot, but
Oh yeah,
he's just trying to warn people about coronavirus. So I did see him wearing a mask. So he had a mask and sandals. He's good. But it's like 90 degrees out there, and apparently, like the costume he has was something. I think they said he bought it from Walmart for a different thing, and he like modified it to be a little more loose and breathable. But the whole costume's like completely like head to toe with like the little head cape and stuff. It's all black, so you know that is like just sucking in all that heat.
he's sweating to death.
He's gonna become the literal Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper is gonna be like, I don't know, he's got something there. Like, come down and pick him up.
He can recruit.
There you go. I got a free game online earlier this week that was all about the Grim Reaper, and that's the whole point of it. Was like you just recruit people. So maybe this is the Grim Reaper in real life. Maybe he's just a really nice guy.
Yeah, he's just looking for a new job. He lost his job due to Corona.
Now he's permanently the Grim Reaper. Oh goodness. Do you think that like if he gets fired from being the Grim Reaper, does the Grim Reaper get unemployment?
Yeah, of course.
Obviously. I wonder how much money the Grim Reaper would get paid.
It's just like in amount of like afterlife slaves he gets or whatever. Just souls he gets to torture.
119 grooves. That's his payment. Oh goodness. Alrighty, everyone. Well, we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're gonna jump into our segment 2. We got a cool lesson from Riley Lawrence this week. Just kind of like a side note before we do like this transition. Like Brad told me that Riley spent a bunch of time like putting his lesson together and everything. And so when I was talking to Brad, he told me he did 13 pages of notes.
Oh my!
Shout out to Riley because that's amazing. I don't even think I've ever written 13 pages of notes for anything. So
Yeah, I think the last time I preached in church, I only had like 2.5 pages of.
oh, it's great. It's great. Keep it up, Riley. You're going places. But all right, we're going to go ahead and take a short break here, and then we will come back and talk about it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Plant the Seed. We're going to take a look at our segment 2 here. Again, big shout out to Riley for taking the time this week to go through and actually do our lesson. Riley went over numbers, chapters, not verses. He went through chapters 1 to 11. So if you want to get a bigger context of kind of what's going on here, highly recommend kind of taking the time to maybe take a look at those chapters. Or if you want to look for like an abridged version, Riley did a great job with kind of nailing all of the chapters and giving just kind of like a quick context of what is going on in each. You can find that video in our Beacon Baptist Students YouTube channel. And then you're going to look for one that was posted on Wednesday, May 6th. And that will kind of give you a breakdown of a little more context. But just for like a quick summary of it, these chapters and numbers are a continuation of the results of the Israelites' commitment to God and God's expectations when it comes to be like a committed relationship with Him. So, a main point through all of these chapters, though, is that the Israelites may have been delivered from the Egyptians, but they still had a journey ahead of them to reach God's promised land. So, the story of the Israelites, I think, is a good comparison to kind of our relationship with God today, where God has delivered us from sin, similar to how He delivered the Israelites from Egypt. And now we're provided a promised land or heaven. But where I think a lot of us, like either believers or non believers, whatever the case is, whether you're looking at your spiritual life or you're looking at kind of your day to day life, I think there's this big thing we miss in the comparison between the story of the Israelites and our story. And that's the journey between the deliverance and then reaching the promised land. There's this whole section of story. It's not just like, oh, we got saved by Egypt and oh, look, now we're in this beautiful promised land. There's like years worth of time between basically where they start and then reaching their destination. So, have you ever faced kind of like a journey, whether that's like spiritual life or your personal life, like vacation travels or something, where you wish you could have just cut out the journey and just like reached your final destination?
Oh, definitely. Um, say high school is, or just school in general, like the first 18 years of your life, is that like it's like the tutorial phase, the prologue, and then once you turn 18 and move out of your parents' house, it's like then the real thing gets started, and then I guess most people just want to get to that instead of like going through 18 years of stuff that may or may not even help you
Right.
to get ready for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think the journey, I'm trying to think of like a specific one. I mean, like anytime I go on vacation, I want the journey gone. I just want to be there. Like, if I'm going to Florida, I don't want the drive or the flight necessarily. I just want to be in Florida and I want to enjoy it. So those are like little times where I'm really excited about something, where I want to cut out the journey and just like get to the promised area, like get to where I'm trying to go. Traffic, anytime I could cut out some traffic, getting anywhere and just get to the final destination would be real nice. Um, I think in like my spiritual life, there are a lot of times where like if I didn't have to go through the uphill climb or battles, I'd love to just be able to say, oh, I got saved and boom, here I am. That was it. I don't have any journey in between. Um, but I think you could probably agree with this. While I sometimes wish I could do that, I think that would make for a pretty boring life.
Oh
But
yeah, it's because I was about to say like I do agree with skipping the journey and getting there, but then also it depends on who you're with. So like a road trip could be really boring if you're like just with your parents and your siblings or whatever. But like one time I went on a road trip with my best friend and his brother and his mom to up north,
mm-hmm.
and it was pretty fun. It was only like a 5 hour drive, but it was really fun. But I probably wouldn't have that much fun with just about anybody else.
Sure.
But it is a good analogy for like life in general. Like the journey can be boring, but it can also be awesome, and you might not want to skip it depending on who it's with.
Right. Right. Yeah, I took a trip to Tennessee with my soon-to-be brother-in-law, and it was kind of the same thing. Like, part of the fun, or a huge portion of the fun, was the journey getting to Tennessee. Um, we we got like maybe halfway to Tennessee. We had planned on getting there fairly early. Didn't work that way. I think it was like 2 a.m. or later by the time we actually got to our destination. But we had like a piece of plastic had flapped off the car that we had to fix. We had like gotten down the road a little more, and another piece of plastic decided that it wanted to do something too. Never had a problem with the car ever. It's in great condition, and then all of a sudden we're going to Tennessee, and random things started happening. So we pulled up into a Walmart, ran in real fast, and we bought zip ties, a pair of scissors, and a thing of duct tape. The store clerk looked at us kind of funny. Not things that you really want to buy all at one time. And we sat in the Walmart parking lot fixing the car. But, was it necessarily a good experience? I mean, nobody wants to have to deal with like something going wrong, but even out of that bad experience, we had great memories. Like we look back at it now and we laugh. He was like on the ground under the car, and I was like trying to shine a flashlight from the top, and just so we could see what we were doing. It's like well past probably 11, 12 o'clock, so there's no sunlight, and we're in like the back portion of Walmart's parking lot. It looked real creepy, but we got it done. That's what matters. We got there. But it's kind of funny though, because I think in the case of the Israelites, it's a little bit of the same thing. They found themselves on this journey, and when they found themselves on that journey, all they wanted to do is complain about it because they couldn't necessarily see where God was taking them. I think they kind of wanted, as I think a lot of us want, to get an end result instantly or very very quickly, and it didn't work like that. So, what are some experiences that you've had through journeys in your life that you would have missed out on? Like, have the journey been skipped, like good or bad?
I'd say probably the whole camp experience. Like, if I like skipped the whole working at camp thing in order to get to know some higher up people
Mm-hmm.
that helped me like get into college and everything, I would have missed like meeting all the other like just regular old co-workers.
Sure.
And then as I was talking about earlier, like school, I mean, if I went to any other school or was homeschooled or anything, then the good friends I have now I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that like in any kind of journey, you're gonna have ups, and you're absolutely going to have downs. Like it's not always gonna be this consistent path. I feel like that's just like reality. That's just life. And for somebody that gets saved or accepts that forgiveness that God's provided to them, we're not immune to that. So it's not like you're delivered from your sin and then don't have a journey. Like you don't have any more problems throughout life. Um, I think that's just unrealistic. I think the Israelites, experienced that same thing where, yeah, they were delivered, but they still had some time to go through. But like I said, in like Tennessee, that journey was something that I had a good time through bad things that were kind of, I guess not what we had expected. They're stories we talk about and we're excited and we're happy about now. Another one would have been like I had to take a business trip to Florida, and the only flight that they had available and could get me was a first class flight. I'm not skipping that journey. I heck no. That was the best journey ever. I got to eat little food and it was all included. So it was the first time I've ever been like on a first class flight. And I felt real dumb because I got on the plane and they let me on first and I was like escorted to my seat, and I get to my seat and I saw like a water bottle there and like a pillow and stuff. And all the other people, of course, were like, oh, this is just first class. This is how it works. My dumb self, who obviously deserved to be in the back of the plane with the other, people who can't afford the first class, um, I came so close. I very nearly flagged down the flight attendant to say that somebody left their stuff in my seat.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna say that. Like,
And
is this somebody's water bottle and pillow?
I was like, oh my gosh, this is first class. And they didn't even like clean up the person's stuff. And then I looked around and noticed, like, as I was getting ready to literally call this flight attendant over, realized everybody had it. And then like my whole perspective changed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is just what happens in first class. That's for me. I'm like, ah, I felt so special. One thing that I learned in that quick moment, because it was brief, between the time that I thought something was wrong and the time that then I realized something was great and I loved it. I think we do that in life all the time. I think whether you're going through a good experience or a bad experience, it's based upon perspective. I looked at that experience in first class when I walked over to the seat as a bad experience initially because I thought somebody left their stuff there and it just wasn't clean. And I was like, that's not how you treat people in first class, I assume. I've never been there before, but this doesn't feel classy. And my as soon as my perspective changed, I opened my eyes and I looked around to the reality of the situation. What was initially started as a bad experience or a bad journey turned into a good one. And I think the same thing can be applied to just about anything in life. I'm not going to say that all of your bad experiences, you're going to instantly see something good. Some of them are rough. Loss of a family member is never something that, like, is fun. You know, injury, I don't think is anything that is fun. But I think that there are a lot of experiences that we go through in life that initially feel bad, where if we just open our eyes and we look at it in what it really is, a different perspective, we can find a lot of good in those. And those are the times in the journeys of my life that had I just skipped it, I would have missed out on that. I would have missed out on the first class seat or a good experience and time with my, brother-in-law and stuff like that. I would have never had that.
Yeah, it's like an example for me personally of something that I thought was really bad, which I mean it's kind of bad, uh, but led somewhere good was in seventh grade. I met my best friend. We knew each other, but we never really talked, and we were in other like opposite classes, and we got suspended together over something that we both didn't do, but we both got blamed for. Uh, we got suspended for like threatening to murder a girl in our
Oh,
school, like like purge style. We we definitely did not say that at all. Um, it may or may not be something that I would normally say, but in that instance, I did not say it, and we both got suspended, and we were both really upset that we got blamed for something we didn't do, and it was not a good time. We got like 2 days of suspension, and I mean, when I was younger, I would get suspended quite often. I'm not gonna lie, but now he's my best friend, so I mean, bad things can turn out well.
sure. Yeah, I think, you would have never met that friend had you not been accused of something you didn't do. Quotes didn't do.
Oh
No,
yeah,
I'm just kidding.
at
But
that time I did not threaten anybody.
every other time, it's true. But
Possibly, it
uh,
may have.
and yeah, no, I think that's true. And times there, those type of stories in the Bible are like all over the place, where people are kind of met with bad things all over, and God still can turn them into a good situation. And sometimes that's really hard to see. But if you really think about it, that's hard to see most of the time because we haven't opened our eyes to look for it either.
Yeah,
I know, like, in terms of like my spiritual life, there was a lot of times where I either lost people or I was angry or frustrated with God. And so I looked at every situation as a bad situation. I looked at the journey as just being nothing but a bad journey. And when I like started to look at it with a different perspective of, what are some goods, what are some positive things that have come out of this experience, that's when I started realizing that a lot of that was shaping who I become now. Like, I don't have life experience and I haven't been blessed with the opportunities I'm able to enjoy today if it hadn't been for not just the good experiences through that journey, but the equivalency of those bad experiences. And if you think about it, if you have no bad experiences in life, if you have no bad portion of your journey and everything was just good, what would be the point of faith? What would be the point of needing help if nothing in your life was a problem?
Yeah, there's like you also just grow as a person once you go through stuff. It's like if life is easy for you and you never go through anything tough, you're not gonna have like thick skin. You're not gonna grow as a person, and you're not gonna even feel like you need a savior. So you're not gonna go for it anyway. That's why like people say like God uses like tough situations to bring you closer to Him because without those tough situations, you're gonna feel like you don't even need Him.
Right. Plus, you just become really unrelatable to other people. I think that's another
Yeah.
thing that like we take for granted a lot is we look at a bad situation and we go, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened," or "I'm going through something difficult," or I." And I think part of the perspective has to change from the I point of view and see it in the point of view that it's not just you who has experienced that in life. Like, there's been trillions and tons of people on this planet over the course of time. Everybody has probably, it's already been done. Like, it's already existed. What you're going through has already happened and is happening to a bunch of other people. And I think us going through bad situations, while granted, yeah, they suck sometimes and they're really hard, and I don't want to negate that, but it's also what makes us relatable to other people. You know, when we go through something tough, and especially as Christians, when we go through something tough and God helps us to get over that, to move that from a bad experience, to be able to talk about that in a more good or positive light that's encouraging, we can use those bad experiences that God helped us overcome to help somebody else going through the same thing, like overcome them as well. So you kind of have to experience some of those. To be honest with you, even though that there are experiences that I went through that I wish I could like take back or not have dealt with, if I was to take them out, I would be pretty boring. I wouldn't be relatable to people anymore. People would look at me like as something unachievable, I think.
So I feel like people like when you don't go through anything and it seems like you have everything easy. Not only do you seem unrelatable, people like almost look down on you and like judge you for saying like you're stuck up or whatever. Or like example like rich people that grow up with like a silver platter and seem like they don't go through anything because everything's already taken care for them. They seem more of like rude, snarky people,
Mm.
and I guess it's because they may not have gone through anything tough, so you know, they feel like they don't need anybody, they don't need anything, so they're just mean. Obviously, that's a stereotype, and
Sure.
it's not always true, but I think a lot of people view it that way.
Yeah, I think it boils down to whether you have a silver platter or you're somebody, who doesn't have a bunch of luxuries in life. It boils down to just general pride. I think people are afraid of sharing the bad experiences that they've gone through in life, but it's because of those bad experiences that we can have a good, positive, outreach to other people. And just because we don't share the experiences that we have, it doesn't mean that those things are going to go away. They're always going to be there. It just matters more so like, what are you allowing those experiences to do for you? Are you allowing them to shape you to be somebody who is prideful and bitter and just like angry and unsatisfied? Or are you using those experiences to put into a positive perspective, where you can look at it again and, from your past, and some of those situations laugh at, or, some of those situations use to be an opportunity to help somebody else out. So I think it really has a lot to do with just a perspective change. And I think it has a lot to do with just being humble through a lot of those situations and not necessarily holding on to, that pride or whatever the case is. But Riley mentioned something when sharing the lesson, that I also think is really interesting point of view. He said while the Israelites took their complaints to each other, Moses took those complaints to God. And only one of those ways of complaining actually showed results, which I think is really interesting. I never paid too much attention to it before. And when Riley had mentioned it and I kind of look at the story again, I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. But have you ever complained about something to others first that you then eventually took to God? And if so, what were kind of the results of both?
Yes, definitely. I'd say usually I have a big problem with trying to do things myself before going to God, and I'll like talk to my friends and say, "Yeah, this is going on, and it kind of sucks, uh, but I can push through it, or maybe I'll need you guys to help me out or something." Instead of just going straight to God for help. I, I I know it's not the greatest thing to do, but I tend to go to God last.
Sure,
Try to figure out like everything else I can do to see if I can do it on my own. Usually that doesn't work out. So
sure. Yeah, I think, I tell a lot of people, and people think I'm kind of crazy for saying this. Um, I don't necessarily think complaining is bad. However, I think complaining can at least sometimes point out a few things. One, it may point out something that is actually wrong. Like whether that's wrong in society that you've recognized and you see, or something wrong in yourself that maybe from that complaining, if you change your perspective, you can see something that you need to take care of internally with God or, with somebody else or whatever the case is. So I think complaints can have a really good tool in kind of realigning yourself with whatever it is that you're not aligned with. However, if all you're doing is complaining and you're putting no action to it, then you're whining. Nobody wants to hear whining. And in the case of the Israelites and what we do, I think very often is all we do is complain and complain and complain about things in our life to one another, and we don't take it anywhere past that point. We don't take it to God, or if we do take it to God, then we're not putting action to take care of it. It's more than just like a one step process, I feel. And I'm guilty of this all the time. Like, one reason why I struggled so much in my faith like as a teenager was I felt that like all the people that were leaving me in life were leaving me for whatever reason, and I turned that into like blaming God for it. And I'd go to like my mom and complain about it, or I'd go to my friends and complain about it. And like you had said, I did all that first before I ever took it to God and said, God, what do I do? So, the big difference I think between the Israelites and Moses is, was Moses not a complainer? No, Moses on a lot of occasions was pretty hot headed, pretty impatient at times. But the big difference is that rather than complain to everybody else, he took it to God first, and it did show results. The Israelites were given forgiveness when God was almost at kind of like ready to just say, okay, bye, good luck. So,
yeah, and I feel like it's okay to complain about things, and as you said, like nobody wants to hear whining, and I definitely think there's a difference that most people don't really think about. Is like there's a difference between complaining about things and like calling things out for being not right, not how they should be. Like maybe we should do something about this. This kind of sucks, rather than like, well, got somebody take care of this. This sucks. I'm not going to do anything about it.
sure.
Rather than like trying to come up with ways to fix something, because like complaining is just like calling something out for being messed up, and you're upset about it. Whereas whining is like doing the same thing, but not actually taking action, like you said. And I think more people actually whine than complain. Like everybody's complaining about stuff in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody's actually changing it. Or if they're trying to change stuff, they're not exactly changing it for the better.
Sure. Yeah, I think where I complained a lot, and I still find myself doing it every once in a while, is like if I'm stuck in a sin or if I feel like I can't overcome something, I'll sit there and I'll complain about it. and I'll take it to God and I'll pray to God first, which should always be your first course of action. And I'll go to my Bible and I'll study about what it is that I'm doing or involved with. And we'll get an answer from God of like, okay, so this is the steps that you need to take. And that's where it ends. And there's a lot more than just taking your complaints to God, too. It's also being willing to follow through with your actions to take care of whatever you're complaining about. In my life, it was usually like if I was having a struggle with a temptation or if I was having a struggle with a sin that I felt like I couldn't get out of, I'd take it to God. I'd say, hey, God, help me here. 30 seconds later, or, next day, whatever the case was, I was right back into it. Was it because God didn't answer me? No. Was it because, oh my goodness, well, I took it to God and it's God's fault that he didn't fix my complaint? No. I wasn't putting in action to fixing it. Going to God is absolutely your first course of action, but putting some effort into it is needed too. And the Israelites faced that as well. God said, okay, you're going to make a covenant with me. We're going to have this committed relationship and stuff. These are the steps that I need you to follow in order to do that. And they were complaining about the steps they had to follow. They're complaining that they want to get to where they want to go. Then they're complaining about the journey it takes them to get there. Then when they get there to complain about the location that they get there through that journey, it's like, that's an attitude change.
Yeah, and it's like just because you pray to God doesn't necessarily mean he's going to take care of it right away or even the way you want him to. I mean, he's never going to ignore you. He'll always answer, but you might not notice, or it might not be right away. It might not be the way you want it. And also, just because God is working doesn't mean you don't have to. It's like you can pray to God, but that doesn't mean you sit down and do nothing and let him take care of it. You pray to him for help, but he still expects you to actually do something.
Yeah. I mean, if me and my brother-in-law had gotten stuck in the parking lot at Walmart with our car broken, if all we did was drop to our knees and go, Lord, fix the car, does he have the power to? Yeah. He also provided us a Walmart 5 feet away to just go inside and get the tools to do it. So, if we just sat there the whole time and didn't at least put some action or put some effort into getting, something, some kind of solution, we would have never gotten anywhere. And, I feel like that's the case in a lot of things that we complain about in life. Look at the situation and ask yourself, is there something that I can actually do about it? In some situations, there will be. Maybe God has provided tools just around you to be able to fix it. Let's use kind of a dumb example, but your toilet breaks. Do you got the tools around you to be able to fix that? Well, then praise God that he provided you the tools. Let's get it done. But there's going to be situations in life too where you may complain about it and you're going to go to God and you may just not be able to do anything about it on your own. Maybe you see a friend that is struggling with something and that is causing a weight on your heart, or you are kind of overwhelmed or complaining about why something has happened to them. You may not have the power in yourself to be able to help that person. So there are going to be times where you also have to have that faith matter too of what are you complaining about? Can you do anything about it? And if not, that might be a time to also just kind of wait for God to do something too. So
Yeah, and I like what you said before. It's like God may not actually necessarily fix it. Like, obviously, he's going to answer you, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to fix it. He could just, as you said, provide the tools for you to fix it. Obviously, there's some things that we cannot fix, and he will do things himself. But I feel like anybody can argue this with me or whatever. But personally, I see more often than not, God gives us the opportunities to do things ourselves rather than just doing it for us, which I view that as a good thing because it keeps us busy and makes us actually do something instead of being lazy. And especially with people in the church, instead of him just bringing people in and getting them saved, like Jesus walking through the streets, come to my house, guys.
yeah,
He sends us out because he's given us the ability, You can walk, you can talk, then you're able. You don't need God to do it for you.
Sure.
He's given you the ability, so you should take advantage of it. Which is not saying, which is completely different from, well, I should rely on God and do nothing. Let Him do everything. You should go to Him first and ask for help instead of doing it all yourself. But if you're able to do it yourself after asking Him, then you should. So it's like, so I've never personally heard anybody say it, but I know there's going to be some people out there that use the phrase of "let God take care of it" as an excuse to just not do anything.
Sure. Yeah. And I've definitely on multiple occasions in life been guilty of that. You know, what I think is most important, because I know for people who maybe are hearing this for the first time, that can be confusing. You know, what's the difference between, is this a time where I use my tools that God's given me to do something, or is this a time to wait? You know, and that's even something that's a little tricky, I think, at times for me to try to figure out. I think that there's one big point in the Bible that whether it's a time for you to use your tools available to you to do something for the honor and glory of God, or whether that is waiting for God to take action, is a simple point that everything that you do, if you do it to the honor and glorification of God, if you're doing it with God at the forefront, whether that is you're taking action for yourself or for somebody else, or a situation in your community, if you're doing it to the honor and glory of God and that's your focus, and it's not a prideful focus of I'm going to do it because I'm tired of waiting for God, which is very, very different, then God can use either of those situations. There are going to be times where you have to take action. You have to do something. If you see somebody who is having a struggle in life, you can either do something to help honor and glorify God by helping that person, or just pray and hope that somebody else will take care of it. Those are two very different perspectives, two very different mindsets. So I think everything comes from where your heart lies. Like, what was your intention on what you've done? And there's nobody else that can tell you what that intention was other than God, who knows your heart, and you, who knows your attitude. So, but speaking of tools, let's go ahead and get into our trivia question here.
Oh, this is a good one.
Trivia
It's
question.
weird, definitely. It might be weirder than the last one.
I think it was. I think, like, the more you think about it, the worse it gets. Like,
Oh yeah, it's. I
uh,
kind of never want to use one again.
I'm never gonna look at it again the same
But
way. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, I have one in my garage. I might just throw it away. Trivia time, guys.
Trivia time. All right, so here we go. It may surprise you. Chainsaws were not originally invented for slasher movies. What were they originally invented for? Here's a hint. It was not invented for cutting down trees. I had to look up articles on this because I saw it on like one of those little quirky websites, like, oh, here's some fun facts that you didn't know before. And I was like, there's no way this is real. I found a science article with photos of it and everything of what the chainsaw was originally invented for. I'm shook.
Oh, I'm like disturbed.
Mm-mm-mm.
It's strange. I haven't seen the pictures, and I'm not sure I want to, but
It didn't look
uh
like it had an engine either. It looked like it was hand cranked. Like, and
oh
in knowing
no,
now that you know the answer to it, just makes it even worse.
uh,
So,
it's terrible.
mm-mm.
So yeah, guys, you can comment down below. What was the original purpose for a chainsaw? It will surprise you. Please look it up, or don't, or definitely don't.
There's no videos on how it was used before, but I don't think I want to know. I'm gonna stop talking before I give something away. So until next time, everybody, remember to be different, do different. Thanks.